Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with Sherlock. Last time on Sherlock, we had a scandal in Belgravia. Is that what it was called? Something like that? They never actually said the title in the episode. We were on the case of the woman, the dominatrix, that had some pretty bad photos of a certain young royal person. A young person in the royal family. That person, they never really said who it was, and I have no idea who that is, so there's a mystery that they haven't really solved, but whatever. And there were a lot of twists and turns, and there was a lot of manipulating of Sherlock, but in the end, Sherlock still was able to get the upper hand and solve the case and figure everything out. So, yay! Now, this time around, I believe we're on to, the Hounds of Baskerville. Now, the reason I bring up the title of this episode is actually because I know maybe a little bit about this one. So, a few years back, I actually watched a stage version of Sherlock Holmes, The Hounds of Baskerville. I don't remember much of it. But what I do remember is I believe it was a fairly Watson-centric play. So I don't know if that's going to be the same thing here. That would be nice for, Watson to do stuff, which I know people have told me in the comments, Watson, he's not supposed to be, he's supposed to be sort of the audience surrogate, and I understand that, he's basically the companion to Sherlock's doctor. So I understand that, but I do wish there was a bit more of Watson solving some things. It doesn't have to be everything, just some things would be nice. So maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll get that in this one, but who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much that. This is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. And with that being said, we might as well get right into this episode of Sherlock. Here we go. Hey guys, so just a quick little thing here before we get started. So I've had some copyright troubles with this episode of Sherlock, and because of that, I've decided that I'm going to send this episode to the redirects. Now, what does that mean, in case you are unaware of how I do some of this stuff? Basically, what that means is the reaction, where, I'm watching the show and the footage is edited, and in the corner, it's all nice and good. That part of the video is actually not going to be in this YouTube video. What you have to do if you want to watch my reaction highlight, as I try to adjust the camera here, is you got to go down in the description or to the pinned comment on this video. There will be a link there. So it should say Sherlock 2x2 reaction highlight, and it will have a link there. You just click on that link and it will take you to my reaction highlight with, once again, the footage is in the corner. It's all edited and nice and good. And you can watch that, and hopefully you have a good time. And when you're done with that, you can pop right back over here, because in about maybe 10 or 15 seconds, the discussion part of the video will start. And it's always important that you watch the discussion. Now, I don't think that this is going to be a recurring thing with Sherlock, because the other episodes have been good, but just for this episode at least, we're going to have to do this a little bit differently than normal. So yeah, once again, link in the description. You can go watch that reaction and pop right back up here for the discussion. See you guys later. I don't think I quite understand what just happened at the end there. So I don't know. Something about that that had to have been, that definitely had to have been Moriarty, and Mycroft let him go, I guess. Man, I don't know. All right. Okay. Oh. Oy, I will never get used to how long these episodes are, but whatever. That was good. That one was really good, actually. I'm glad we got out of the city for a while. I'm with Lestrade. Let's get London out of our lungs for a bit. Oh, that was nice. I don't know. As we were going on, I was thinking man, this might be my favorite one, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure if I would say this one is my favorite, but this one was pretty good. I mean, thing is, we've only seen 5 of them so far. So far so good, I would say. I would maybe rank this as second so far. But this season has been pretty solid, I have to say. Not that last season wasn't pretty solid, but this one, I don't know, this one seems to have stepped it up a bit. So, okay. And I was completely wrong. This was not a Watson solo story. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me while I stretch out a bit. Let me get my hoodie back a little closer. Okay. Yeah. A good episode. Okay. We should get into the notes. Sorry, I'm so tired, you know? I ran out of drink during that, so oh well. Alright. Let's just go ahead and go right into the notes, basically. The first thing I wrote down was cigarettes and cases. So I like that they sort of carried over, basically, the fact that, last episode, Sherlock had a cigarette. Mycroft gave him one cigarette and was like, oh, Merry Christmas, basically. And so now he's going back through the withdrawal again, And it seemed like, he picked up smoking again, and then, he picked up smoking, and then he's quit again since then, and he's going through the withdrawals. So basically, what he needs is either cigarettes or a case, basically. Which I like that. It has to be one or the other, basically, in order for him to function, I suppose. So, that was interesting. Let's see here. I wrote down Hounds. I like how we got sort of into this, with... I do like, the carrying thing of, okay, someone always comes to Sherlock for a case, which is good. And I like this idea of, this... what seems to be almost a supernatural monster, basically. How do we investigate this, on Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock, it's like, okay, well, this isn't really, Sherlock is not anything with, fantasy or mystery or something, even when they bring in the genetic angle, where it's like, okay, maybe it was genetically engineered to be this giant, murder machine. It still seems like, that doesn't really, it seems like it shouldn't still, work, basically. That would still be a little too sci-fi for this show. But it was interesting. It makes it interesting. It's like, okay, this thing, shouldn't be in a Sherlock Holmes story, so why is it? And they have to go solve that, basically. So I do like that. Like I said, I was wrong about John being alone, at least in this episode. Now, if I remember correctly, in the play, in the stage adaptation of the original story that I saw, it was a Watson-centric play, and Sherlock Holmes, I think Sherlock was only there to bookend it. But from what I've been told, actually, these episodes don't actually how do you say this? Okay, they're basically loose adaptations, basically. So these are all apparently loose adaptations now, and I've heard a couple people say some of these are actually adapted from short stories of Sherlock Holmes. So I don't know if maybe this was another one where it was adapted from a short story of Sherlock, and that would raise the question okay, so you could adapt that differently. Maybe in one adaptation, it is just Watson, but in another adaptation, it's both Sherlock and Watson. So it could be that. So I don't know. You guys will obviously fill me in the comments, which I like. I like that we get that sort of interaction in the comments. So so yeah, I don't know. It's, so with this being like loosely based on, stories of Sherlock Holmes, it's entirely possible that, they either were just like, hey, we only have 3 episodes, we should probably keep our main actor, in it for most of it, or it was just a short story, and the way I saw it originally, it was just adapted to be mainly Watson, and then this version, they were like, well, let's just, maybe they didn't even think twice about it. It's like, well, of course it's going to be Sherlock and Watson. So I was wrong about that, but that's okay. I will say, that this episode was a good Watson episode, I feel like. Watson really did a lot of stuff. But at the same time, we kind of eliminated most of our recurring characters in this. Like, the most we had, was, okay, Mycroft pretty much stayed to the sidelines. I'm not even sure. Well, I don't even think he got a line of dialogue other than at the end there. It was mostly just through text. And really the only other character we really got who's, one of our recurring characters is Lestrade. And Lestrade only came in, over halfway through the episode. So I did like that. There was a bit more, basically, of Sherlock and Watson, doing things together. And even in that, Watson did find different things. He was the one that found the receipt for all the meat receipt, as I'm going to call it now. So yeah, this was definitely like, Watson sort of stepping up a little bit. And yes, he was also, he was also used okay, it's like, okay, the writers decided to use Watson a bit more, and Sherlock decided to use Watson a little bit more by locking him in that lab. Asshole. But that's what he does. Let's see. I wrote down Baskerville and military. That was also interesting. So Baskerville was just this, this military style. It was a military base, but they were pulling off mainly a lot of scientific experiments. Like, there wasn't, there were soldiers there, but they weren't really doing anything, soldiery, I guess. They weren't, I don't know what, I guess just normal soldier routines or something like that. It didn't seem to be an army base, but more of it was just a military base, where there were scientific experiments and stuff for the military. So that was interesting. I wrote down Rank and the Rabbit. So I did again, Watson sort of stepping up, going in, yes, I love that, Sherlock actually just gets into places as Mycroft. That's clever, because he has done that before as Lestrade as well. I think in the first episode, he gave someone, Lestrade's ID, and he was like, yeah, I'll take his ID, when he gets annoying. I've collected many, So I like that he would also do that with Mycroft as well. And, pretty much racing against the clock as well, in order to, before they figure out that he's not Mycroft and, things are going to go awry. So I like that. And yeah, I did like Watson pulling Rank, that was clever. He basically slipped right back into being a soldier, which I did. I really like that. Again, Watson stepping up. I do like, that Watson is stepping up a bit in this story. So yeah. And let's see. Oh, the rabbit. That was actually really interesting that, which I gotta start paying attention to these, the cases that they don't take, because this is the second time that they've done a case where a case that they didn't take actually was important, So that was the thing too. Last episode when it was all the people that, they couldn't see the body of their, dead relative, and that tied into the fact that Mycroft was putting all those bodies on the plane so that a plane would explode from a terrorist attack, but no one would die. So it's sort of the same thing here, you know. He got a case about you know, oh, find my, you know, glowing pet rabbit, you know, from like a little girl basically, and that tied in. It's like, oh yeah, there would be a glowing rabbit because this is a genetic laboratory basically. I've never said laboratory like ever. I say laboratory. Is there, I don't know, is I can't even like, I don't know, is that like a difference? Is that a like a across the pond difference? I don't know. I gotta sneeze. And it's gone. I hate that. Oh well. So, yeah, I don't know. Is that a difference between the UK and America? Do you guys say laboratory instead of laboratory? That's one of those words where it's like I feel like anyone could say it just the way they say it. You could say laboratory or laboratory, you know? Yeah, I don't know. You guys tell me that. Tell me if that is a difference or if it's just two different ways of saying it and it doesn't really matter. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, I did like that you know, it all tied in there with it all tied in there with the rabbit. So that was clever. Okay, I wrote down UMQRA. So luckily this was used for figuring out that Hound was actually a was actually an acronym basically. Hold on, sneeze is back. Come on. Come on. Come on. No. No. Ah, I hate that. Like, I can feel it. It's still there. It just won't... I just won't sneeze. Come on. Come on. This is killing me. Alrighty. Screw it. So, yeah. UMQRA. So... luckily, that did have significance later, but it wasn't... so it wasn't that... it wasn't someone trying to do Morse code. It was... it was just someone's headlight going on and off while they were banging in the back of their car. And there was like a bunch of cars there too. Like, what was that, you know? Yeah. It's like, this is so random, but look at all these people are just... Huh. Yeah. Okay, so now let me look back here a sec. Was that anyone's name? No, it wasn't. that just happened, basically. And there's no one else's credits here. Nope. That was just nothing. But what were the... Like, there were other people that were just, you know, sitting in their cars while the two of them were doing that. I guess they just... I don't know. Maybe they were, like, bodyguards or something. I don't know. I'm not sure fully what that was. I mean, I get the obvious. But the other cars I'm curious about. Alright, whatever. I wrote down improbable. So Sherlock said the thing, you know? Whatever. I tried to, like, say it, but I couldn't remember what it was exactly.
On the moor, I saw someone signaling. I heard something. In the hollow. Gigantic hound. Sherlock, we have to be rational about this. And you, of all people, can't just... Let's just stick to what we know. Yes? Stick to the facts. Once you rule out the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be true.
Yeah. Once you've ruled out the impossible, whatever remains, however the improbable, must be true. He finally said that. Yay. So, that was his logic for the Hound there, which was interesting. I like that. I like that he said that. Yay. And they do reference Spock when he says that. Watson calls him Spock, and it's like, okay, yeah, because Spock has said that before. He definitely said that in the 2009 Abrams Star Trek movie, at least. I feel like classic Spock said it too, but I don't remember when. Oh God. And yeah, but the thing is, when Spock says it on Star Trek, he is also referencing Sherlock Holmes. He's referencing Sherlock Holmes. He even says an ancestor of mine once said, implying Sherlock Holmes is actually his ancestor, which is funny. So, I don't know. There's a big whole loop around there, but whatever. Yeah. I wrote down scared. Sherlock was actually terrified, which was a bit of a new thing for him. A bit of a new thing, so that was definitely interesting. And you know, and he still was like, you know, he still tried to say that he was fine because, you know, he made all the deductions of the one couple over there and stuff. So, but he was terrified. And because of that, you know, he said, you know, he doesn't have friends, you know. Alrighty. I wrote down meat and fake. So they faked it, basically. They had a dog, and they got meat for it. What was that whole thing? Let's see. I do still like Lestrade being there.
You're for this Hound of Hell, like on a... Oh, this is Mycroft name, is it? Yes. If you never bothered to find out. I think I might have fouled before Scotland Yard even put in a few calls. Won't come in very handy. You never make coffee. That's nice. It's good. So when you had the idea after the TV show went out? It's me. It was me. I'm sorry, Carrie. I couldn't help it. I had a bacon sandwich at Cal's wedding, and one thing just led to another. Nice try. Look, we were just trying to give things a bit of a
So they faked the hound.
The dog run wild up in the moor. It was heaven sent. It was like us having our own Loch Ness monster.
And where do you keep it?
There's an old mine shaft. It's not too far.
He was alright there.
What? We couldn't control that bloody thing. It was vicious. And then, months ago, Billy took him to the vet and,
Yeah. So they put him down.
put down. Yeah. No choice. So it's over. It was just a joke, you know?
Yeah, hilarious.
Hmm.
Nearly driven a man out of his mind.
Okay. So they faked it. They faked the dog basically for sales, for tourists. Interesting. Definitely interesting. Let's see. I wrote down Liberty, Indiana. So that was Liberty Inn is what is pretty much all, Henry could remember other than, his father being killed by the hound. So that was interesting, and trying to figure out, what does it mean, Now, I wonder, did they always show a comma next to it? I don't remember. I don't think they did. I think it just said Liberty Inn. But that came into play with, Liberty, Indiana, IN, short for Indiana. That was interesting. And this whole thing, Project Hound, in order to... It's kind of like Scarecrow from Batman, the Scarecrow's gas, basically. It makes you see something so horrendous and terrifying. So for Henry, this guy in a gas mask became a hound, because the word stuck in his head. And because of that, when he said hound to them, it stuck in Sherlock's mind, and that stuck in Watson's mind as well. But once they figured out that there wasn't really a hound, that's why at the end there, Sherlock started to see Moriarty. So, is this the only one where Moriarty is technically not involved? Of our 5 stories so far, is this the first one where he's not involved? I don't think so. I don't think he was involved. Because the first episode, he was sponsoring the taxi driver. The second episode, he helped the Black Lotus get into the country. Episode 3, it was just him. And then last episode, Adler was working for him. So yeah, I think this is the first one where it wasn't specifically Moriarty doing this. Although we did see him again in Sherlock's vision, it does sort of show that Sherlock is somewhat afraid of Moriarty, because he's pretty much a rival, So yeah, that was interesting, and then we did see the clip of him at the end, I guess. So, but yeah, I don't think he was involved in this one at all, which is a first, basically. So yeah, I wrote down Mind Palace. That was clever. We got a bit more of sort of Sherlock's thinking process, basically, and I like the explanation that in theory, you should be able to remember everything as long as you're able to chart the correct map back to any memory. I did like that, and you can call it many things, a mind map, a mind house, but for Sherlock, it's a mind palace. Tells you a lot about Sherlock. And okay, so technically, there wasn't actually a hound. The hound, came from the name and came from, Henry as a child, not really seeing a man but a beast, and especially with the red eyes and stuff from the gas mask. So Bob was actually releasing dogs, basically, to pose as hounds And all of this, you know, like, okay, well, where were they drugged? It was the fog, which was interesting. So, because that was the thing too, you know, when it's like, okay, they're all being drugged to see the Hound. So when the Hound shows up and they're like, wait, Lestrade wasn't drugged, what does he see? But he does sort of, I think he still saw a Hound, but that was because of the fog. So that was interesting as well. And this was all basically because, you know, Henry's dad was right about something that I don't specifically remember what, but it was something that would, you know, it was something that was going to, well, I guess just the whole thing, the whole, you know, aerosol dispersant, that's how you say that. You know, this whole project, he was, you know, maybe, was it, he's gonna like blow the lid off of it, basically. Poor dogs. I mean, they were attacking, so.
Look at it, Harry. No. Come, look at it.
Yeah, it's just a dog.
Why did you just kill them? Because dead men get listened to. He needed to do more than kill you.
Yeah.
He had to discredit every word you ever said about your father.
Yeah.
He had the means right at his feet. Chemical minefield, pressure pads in the ground, dosing you up every time that you came back here. Murder weapons, scene of the crime all at once. Oh, this case, Henry.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been brilliant, Sherlock. What? Timing. Not good? No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Because this means that my dad was right. He found something out of me. And that's why you'd killed him, because he was right. And he found you right in the middle of an experiment.
Yeah. Found him in the middle of an experiment. Thus, he had to die. And instead of also killing the son, he basically drove him insane so that no one would take him seriously. Except for Sherlock Holmes, basically. But how do you plan on Sherlock Holmes? I don't know. So, yeah, alright. That was good. That was interesting. And then at the end, you know, he ends up stepping on a landmine and he's just like, well, I guess I'm out. And he dies. So, okay, so yeah, that's pretty much all I wrote down. Another great episode. I gotta say, this season is it's a little better. It's a little bit better. You know, like we're stepping it up. And season 1 was really good, but you know, we're stepping it up just a little bit. And I like this. And I like, you know, the change in scenery and everything too, and sort of the minimizing of our recurring characters. Honestly, we only got 3 of them in this one. So yeah, this one was really good, and I'm excited to see where we go next time on the finale, I guess. Oh boy, these really go by, don't they? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Sherlock reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.